Good day, my name is Joe. Today we'll be doing a tier list of our favorite villains from Disney Villainous. Listen to this on your way to work, coming back from work, just have a good time. This is supposed to be a fun tier list. This isn't a competitive tier list. This is just villains from the Disney Villainous universe that we enjoyed, that we had a good time with, that we felt the theme with, and just our personal rankings on the ones we enjoyed the most. So let's get into the list. All right, first up from the core box, we have Ursula. Now her objective was to have the trident and the crown in her lair. So you had to get these two items on your board and then shift them to the lair using the different actions. She couldn't do any vanquish actions, so it kind of made her a little bit unique in that aspect. But there wasn't a whole lot to it. It was a fairly straightforward villain, and there could have been a little bit more flair used. It wasn't the most thematic villain that we saw. However, we really did enjoy her token piece and think this is really interesting. So unfortunately, Ursa's going to land in the C tier for us. Next, we have Captain Hook. Captain Hook, his whole goal is to find Peter Pan, get him to the Jolly Roger, so move him across the board just like the Ursula's weapons, and defeat Peter Pan. You could defeat him with a cannon or using some of the heroes on the board. Now, what I did like about Captain Hook was you could build up his board. It was really interesting because he had more of a board buildup. You could try to find Peter Pan really quickly and move him from place to place. But the whole building up your board, building items to make some of your actions stronger was a lot of fun with Captain Hook. He was one of the only characters that we have that really had that big board buildup. You know, as you get all the items, you can really make sure every action is going to give you power. And it was just a lot of fun. I really thought this was thematic. This was one of my favorite heroes, just kind of finding Peter Pan, moving to the Jolly Roger and firing that cannon at him. Captain Hook, we love his miniature, and he's going to be in the S tier for us. Next, we're going to move on to Little John. His goal is to have Robin Hood at the jail and have 20 power. So lock Robin Hood up and gain all this power, and is it dethrone the king? So the prince wants to be the king, so he wants all the money. He was okay once you got Robin Hood out and moved to the jail. You just kind of kept him up there. The jail had no repercussions for keeping the heroes up there. So it was kind of an easier villain to play. The theme was there. We really like his piece. Just obtaining 20 power was kind of boring after a little bit, where you do need power to play your cards and progress through the game. But just gaining 20 power and the slow, inevitable rise just kind of led to him landing in the B tier for us. So just kind of a basic villain and nothing too special about Little John. All right, next up we have Maleficent. So the movie is fantastic. However, the character in the game, you have to have all the curses at the locations in each location of your realm. So 4 curses out, and that wasn't the most exciting gameplay. You use the curses to get other allies out, and you just need the curses out there. But it just wasn't the most exciting villain. You could move your allies around because you had to have an ally at a location to play a curse. So it was just kind of this wheel of it just wasn't one of our more exciting villains that we played. And I think there are just more exciting villains out there. Even though we really enjoy the villainous pawn from Maleficent, just going to be in the C tier for me. Next, we're going to move into Aladdin's nemesis, Jaffar. Now, Jaffar, he's trying to start the turn with the magic lamp at the Sultan's palace and the genie under your control. Now, he also starts off with the Cave of Wonders being blocked. So you have to use the Scarab Amulet to unlock the Cave of Wonders. that gets the magic lamp out there, get the magic lamp to the Sultan's palace, have the genie from the hero side to the villain side. This one is a lot of step A, B, and C, getting all this done, but it was fun to play. It was fun to see all the things I remember about Aladdin and really trying to do these certain things, seeing Jaffar's plan thematically play out where he wants to, open the cave, get the magic lamp, get the genie on his side. A pretty thematic hero. It was okay while we were playing with it. We just thought there were some more heroes that were more fun, but we really liked the theme of Jaffar. However, his pawn is just okay for us. We're going to put Jaffar in the B tier. Next, we'll go into Alice in Wonderland's Queen of Hearts. So this one is have a wicket at each location and successfully take a shot. Now, what was interesting about this one was your allies were these cards, but you could eventually turn them into wickets, which means turn them sideways, but then they could no longer be allies that contribute powers to defeating these heroes. And it was just kind of interesting where you have to have one of these wickets at every single location and then do this action called take a shot, which is just a random draw off the top. And hopefully that is, the number is less. You have to draw 5 cards and the number is less than the strength of all your wickets out there. Just really interesting. One of the more interesting mechanics was you could shrink and grow the heroes where they may only cover up 1 hero space if they're shrunk, or if they got enlarged by somebody fading you, they would take up 3 different spaces up top, and that could really throw off your game. Just a random fun hero. For us, there was a lot of interesting mechanics, a lot of interesting choices. That puts the Queen of Hearts in the A tier for us. Next up, we have my favorite villain in all of the Disney universe, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. You have to remove all 8 obstacles. 8 obstacles that get in the way from marrying Belle and getting rid of the Beast. This one, there's 2 obstacles at each location, and you do various things to remove those obstacles. And the other person has fate cards that are going to put obstacles back on the table. So it's kind of this ebb and flow. However, for us, the ebb was a little bit not as fun as just the flow of I got these objectives off. They got right back on. You're starting from square one over and over again, and it just kind of feels bad. And it really, the theme was okay in this one, but it just didn't feel fun to play. And I'm really sad because Gaston is one of my, my favorite villain. I just think his arrogance is so much fun, but the objectives were not as much fun for our dear boy Gaston. He's going to be in the D tier for us. Next, we're going to go to Lady Tremaine. She has to marry Drizella or Anastasia to the prince. And she kind of also has one of those multi-step winning conditions where she has to unlock the ballroom, get the wedding bells out there, find Anastasia or Drizella, move her to there, ring the bell, and hopefully marry them off and win the game with Cinderella somewhere in the way, kind of blocking the path. The problem was with this one is a high randomness. I think my wife played this one and the last 2 cards were Drizella and Anastasia, so just getting there, and it just kind of fell flat a little bit where we could see the theme coming out, but it was kind of one of those, well, if you just don't draw the cards, well, I guess you just lose. There's no other win condition. Now, this was kind of just a couple times we've played. It didn't quite hit, didn't quite flow. We saw the theme, and unfortunately, this is one of the uglier pawns as well, which with all those conditions and the fun factor, gonna be a C tier for Lady Tremaine. So the antithesis of You Got a Friend in Me comes Lotso from Toy Story. He wants to have 4 heroes with a strength of 0 and Buzz Lightyear in the Caterpillar Room. Now, if you guys don't remember, the Caterpillar Room is like the infant room for all these toys in Toy Story. You do not want to be there because you'll be ripped apart, not played with, just destroyed. And it was kind of fun where you want the strength to be 0. So Lotso was always trying to decrease these heroes' strength. When you defeated a villain, the strength went straight to 0 and you kind of throw them in the bin. Just the thematic was just kind of fun with Lotso. It couldn't have been fun to play against Lotso, because this is one of those where his main two actions that he likes to do on the board were both fading actions, and I had to have faded about 70 to 80% of my actions were a fate action against my wife, and I did feel bad. But Lotso in general, reducing the strength, getting these toys to a broken state and putting them in the caterpillar room, I just really enjoyed Lotso. He was not easy to play against, I'm sure, but man, was he kind of really thematic for me. And that's kind of what I'm looking in a game like this is, can we be thematic and have a good time and have a good laugh while we're having fun? Lotso, going to be in the A tier for us. Next, we're going to move on to Syndrome and the villain for the Incredibles. And it was fun seeing all these Incredibles come out here and going, oh no, it's Jack, it's Violet, it's Mr. Incredible stopping. But it was interesting as well, you had these Omnidroids. The Omnidroids are on my side, and I kind of built them so I could be the villain. And that's what the Syndrome, I really enjoyed the thematic aspect of getting these Omnidroids out there and defeating these villains, because his objective is defeat Omnidroid version 1 or 0.10 and have no heroes in the realm. Think of the thematic. You want to be the only person in the realm, and you want to defeat that Omnidroid. You want to be the last person, and everybody cheers for you. Syndrome is very thematic. He is very kind of hard to kind of go through, because you have different stages. You're going to have 3 of these stages of Omnidroids, but they can help you defeat heroes. So you're going to try to want to get a remote out there, which is how you defeat some of these things, and defeat heroes along the way. Just really thematic. I really enjoyed the pacing of Syndrome, and I kind of like his little villain pawn. So this will be an S tier for us. I know this may not be for everybody, but just the thematic choice for Syndrome, I had a very good time playing this villain. Next, we're going to move on to Madame Mimm from Sword in the Stone. And Madame Mimm, there's not too much to say about it other than you need to beat these Merlin transformations. I think there's about 6 or 7 that you need to defeat. But the interesting thing is you can only defeat these transformations with certain allies. So a certain transformation goes with a certain ally, and to vanquish that hero, that transformation, you had to use a certain ally. So it was just a pairing of making sure throughout your deck you had everything out there. You go through your deck probably a total of 1 time and make sure every ally has beaten the transformation. But as you fate Madame Mimm, you can move some of these transformations around and kind of make it tougher. But there was nothing to write home about Madame Mimm, except it was a decent hero. So Madame Mimm gonna be in the B tier for us. Pull the lever, Kronk. Next, we're going to move on to Yzma. She wants to defeat Kuzco with Kronk. So what's interesting about Yzma is she has 4 fate decks, and she is trying to go through those to find Kuzco and have Kronk defeat Kuzco. The problem is that's about 16 cards up there that the Yzma player is trying to get through and decide which one of these is in there. And there's different things that the opponent can look through some of those decks and kind of manipulate some of the cards, trick the Yzma player into not picking certain decks, and it's just kind of an interesting play style. I wouldn't say it's the most exciting, but it's definitely unique. So Yzma goes in the B tier for us. Next, we're going to move on to Scar from The Lion King. And so Scar's objective is to start your turn with at least 15 strength in your succession pile. So that is defeating heroes. And you have to defeat Mufasa to be able to start this succession. You have to defeat the current king to start this succession, which is about 3 extra heroes you have to defeat. And you can defeat these with the hyenas, the packs of hyenas moving around. You can, the opponent can play Hakuna Matata and get some of these heroes out of the succession piles minus Mufasa, and once again kind of thwart your plan. But it doesn't set you back as far as like a when I played Gaston. It wasn't setting back to the original because I always had Mufasa down there in the succession pile. So it was very thematic, very fun, a very straightforward character, but it was just fun to get the hyenas out there, move them as a pack, try to defeat these certain things, Hakuna Matata taking them out. It's kind of a neat thematic villain for us. Scar's going to go in the A tier. So next we go into Rattagan from the Great Mouse Detective. We're going for Rattagan to win, you need to start your turn with the Robot Queen at Buckingham Palace, or defeat Basil when you're in macho form, when you're in transformed form. It was interesting because there was some trap cards you could play, but it was really hard to get the Robot Queen out because it would cost 15 power and then move it to a certain location. But there were cards that let you kind of decrease that. It was a decent hero. We enjoyed the theme. It's not our favorite movie, so it didn't resonate as much with us. But Rattagan, with the transforming form, with the various ways of play, this is a solid B tier for us. Alright, next up is Mother Gothel, and with Rapunzel. Now Rapunzel moves one space every time she starts the game on the board, and you are trying to gain her trust by putting out some of these different items, and her objective is to gain 10 trust. Now, Mother Gothel was interesting as you are gaining trust with these different items, kind of unique villain as a whole. However, there was times where my wife played this one. There was times where I was fading and I kept taking trust off, and it was just kind of a feels bad. One of those Gaston types where it was just like starting over from scratch after all the work that you've done. Mother Gothel for us didn't quite hit home, but was still pretty unique for the most part. So Mother Gothel going in the B tier. Next up is Cruella Deville with 101 Dalmatians. Now she is kind of interesting as she has a face down puppy pile that she is trying to reveal and put out onto the realm. But she needs two of her allies, Jasper and Horace, to be able to capture these puppies. Her overall objective is to get 99 of them, which really means 9 points out of all these kind of puppies that are out there. And just kind of an interesting character, but nothing to write home about. Definitely unique, but if you don't have Horace and Jasper out there, once again, just kind of feels bad. The randomness of just having those allies at the bottom is a little bit rough. And if you don't quite get the right puppies out there, or if they're taken away, just kind of a mid-level hero, but definitely a unique one. But we really like the pawn, the villain pawn in general. So Cruella Deville is going in the B tier. Next up, we're going old school with Pete. Pete, his whole realm is black and white. All his cards are black and white. Everything's black and white. Just kind of a unique villain. You are trying to complete 4 of his selected goals. Now he has 5 goals. You shuffle them up. You deal 4 to your realm. And the player who's playing Pete knows what they are, and the opposite player does not. However, they can try to look at them and reveal them and start to thwart and maybe mix things up so it'd be harder to accomplish your goals. But what's nice about Pete is everything you do is getting you closer to the goal. And that's what I like about it, is he's kind of one of those timer. You can't really reset Pete's goal that he's trying to do because he's always advancing. He's slowly advancing to them. But I really like it because they're varied. They may be in different locations. The items go to different locations. You need to either bring them together, spend resources here, do something there. But you have a clear, concise goal with Pete. And hopefully Steamboat Willie and Steamboat Mickey don't get in your way. And Pete was just an enjoyable character. He was enjoyable to see the goals, kind of have them hidden, be able to do those things and go, aha, I did this one this turn. And it just kind of gave you that good moment and just an overall interesting villain to play. For me and my wife, Pete goes into the S tier. Next, we're going to the jungle with Shere Khan. So Shere Khan, he wants to defeat Mowgli when there are no fire tokens in his realm. Now, the fire tokens cover up some of these action spaces. I believe there's only 4 total, so 4 can be covered. But with allies out there, with a whole bunch of other things, you can start to get kind of starved for things to do with Shere Khan. He was a little bit pigeonholed into doing certain things, to being able to remove the fire. He was just kind of to me, a tough villain to play with, especially with the lack of choice on some of the places that you could move and how to remove some of the heroes and fire tokens. Shere Khan was very thematic, but it wasn't always fun due to the lack of choice. Shere Khan going into the B tier for us. Next, we're moving to Wreck-It Ralph and King Candy. Now, King Candy's objective is to pass the start-finish with a glitch attached to Vanellope von Schwartz. So, in King Candy is interesting because this is the first board that's kind of a unique shape. It's a figure 8 shape, and wherever you land, you get to do that space plus the space in front and behind King Candy. You're trying to get Vanellope out there and essentially beat her in a race. Just kind of a fun character. Doing the big race, gearing up for the big race, just really interesting. But if you start to get some of those spaces blocked off, it does feel bad, as you can't move to any location like some of the other villains. You can only move, I believe it's up to 3 spaces. Now you can fate many times and do multiple actions, and really at the beginning when you're nice and clear, and the board is clear, it looks good. But once you start getting some of these spaces blocked off, and just as a whole, King Candy was just, he was very unique, but just wasn't one that hit for us. We're gonna have to put King Candy in the C tier, unfortunately. And the miniature also didn't quite hit with us. Now let's talk about the Nightmare Before Christmas. We have Oogie Boogie. And Oogie Boogie was the first villain that is going to come with a set of dice. And you roll these dice to manipulate some cards and to hopefully get closer to your goal to defeat Jack Skellington. You use some of these imposters that can also get discarded by a fate deck. And you really want to get those out there to get Jack Skellington out there to be able to defeat him. But it is a little bit random. There are ways to mitigate different ways of luck, but Oogie Boogie as a whole, there's enough luck in this game already that introducing more dice isn't really it wasn't quite doing it for us when we know we had to draw a certain card, then get a 7, and oh, you don't have a card to alter it. Well, hopefully that 7 is good enough to be able to get those imposters out and defeat Jack Skellington. Just not a hero for us. Oogie Boogie also going in the C tier. Next, we're going to move on to Hades. Hades is trying to start your turn with at least 3 Titans in Mount Olympus. So they're going to start in, I forgot what the place, the underworld, and move across the map and to get to Mount Olympus. And these Titans are trudging across. Unfortunately, they're also your allies, which have to defeat heroes. So you can definitely get bogged down. They can also get trapped. They are also expensive to get out. There's a lot of things with Hades that are kind of setting him back. He's very unique. He's very thematic. Getting that chariot card and moving them around is also really neat. But just something about having to move these slow Titans across and getting them trapped. Just a lot of feels bad moments with Hades. And this could have been such a good character and a good villain for us. But Hades, unfortunately, is going to go in the D tier. Now let's go into Snow White and the 7 Dwarves. We're going to go into the Evil Queen, where she needs to, easy, defeat Snow White. Unfortunately, Snow White is in her cottage and protected by a lot of dwarves. And so Evil Queen actually has a special action to brew potions. So you can use your power and convert those into these poisons, if you will, the potions. And then to defeat heroes, I don't even think the Evil Queen has any allies, because you are trying to give these dwarves these apples, and eventually Snow White these apples, use some of your poison counters to defeat them. It's just kind of an interesting character where you're trying to decide, do you want to keep your power? How much poison do you need to vanquish these heroes in a unique way? Well, we'll give them an apple and get rid of some counters. Just a lot of fun, very thematic. Really enjoyed just the play of the Evil Queen. I was really unsure about the poison action until we really started playing it. Seeing the dwarves come out was fun. Just overall, the theme of this villain was just fun. For us, it was just a good time. Evil Queen for us, going in the S tier. Lastly, we'll go on to the Princess and the Frogs, Dr. Fusilier. Just kind of an interesting character where your objective is to control the talisman and successfully rule New Orleans. Dr. Fusilier had this ally called the Shadow Man, who also moved alongside with them, so you don't have to spend some actions to move it. He had this fortune deck where some cards would be played and you would be able to play them later at different times. Just kind of an overall interesting character. A lot of theme in there, especially trying to control the talisman and manipulate the board. It was really kind of a neat villain overall, and really enjoyable as a whole, and unique just to how it played. So Dr. Fusilier for us, gonna go in the A tier. So I hope you guys enjoy this tier list of Disney Villainous. Once again, this is just supposed to be for fun, just going over a high level view of how much we enjoyed each of the villains. We do not have anything else other than Disney, and we'll probably keep it that way. We really just enjoy the Disney theme. Each one of these villains had a special theme, and that's how we kind of rank some of these things on, and how we thought it really came through with the cards. You know, these fate cards add a lot of flavor. Playing interrupts has a lot of flavor in these cards. So once again, take this tier list with a grain of salt. Just listen to it, have fun, share your opinions down below. But overall, Disney Villainous is a good two-player game. Very head-to-head. You can run into a lot of bad luck, but for us, it's just enjoyable, very thematic, and we can always have a good laugh along the way. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the tier list of Disney Villainous and all the villains. Until next time.